wonderful today in the city, or let me call it the town of Ogere, Remo, a very historical town in Ogun State, southwest Nigeria. We are privileged to be in the private residence of the spiritual head worldwide of the Aladura Church. Call it the Church of the Lord Aladura worldwide, in the person of His Eminence, Primate Dr. Rufus Okikiola-Olu Olubiyi Oshitelu, the man that has always been forthright in his ecumenical activities, a man that leads all other men, and a man who has been able to manage the biggest African instituted church in Nigeria, the Aladura Church, which is approximately 81 years. I'm going into his private residence and I'm going to be talking to him on politics, the direction for political leadership in Nigeria. I'm going to talk to him about religion. The man that's going to speak to me now will surprise you. A great man, a man with 2 PhD, one in religion study and the other one in computer science, a German-trained computer genius, and the leader of the Church of the Lord Aladura worldwide. Follow me, let's go into the residence. Follow me, please, follow me. It is another very beautiful day in Ogun State, Ogere, a very prominent town in the heart of Ogun State, Nigeria, West Africa, as we meet a very, very important personality, a unique man of God, a man of purpose, a man of vision, a dynamic man who is presently giving light to a lot of issues around the country and is leading a lot of people across the world. His Eminence, the Most Reverend Dr. Rufus Okikiola-Olu Olubiyi Oshitelu, the primate of the famous Aladura Church worldwide. He is the 4th primate of this great church and the son of the great founder, Prophet General Dr. Olunawo Oshitelu, and Mama Archbishop Mrs. Suzanne Adewumi Oshitelu, the great couple who started the church several years ago. The Aladura Church movement is the first African instituted church in Nigeria and by extension West Africa. Today we are seeking the knowledge and indulgence of the great man behind this great church on politics, on spirituality, and on leadership. Sir, Your Eminence, with total honor, we feel so very honored in your presence. We've been chasing you for the past 2-3 years now until we made a proposal to some of your aid in April, and we were told you were in Germany for evangelical works, and at the time you moved to the US and some other part of the world, and until God finally answered our prayer this month that we were asked to come to your ambience. To start with, sir, how do you feel with Nigeria as a leader and as a spiritual leader, a leader of men, and a man who is very concerned about this great country, Nigeria? How do you feel presently with the political state of Nigeria, sir? With total honor, sir, Your Eminence.
You are welcome, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
As far as Nigeria is concerned, as of today, I'm very, very disappointed, but at the same time, very hopeful.
That is like an oxymoron. You are disappointed and at the same time very, very hopeful.
Because I can see a brighter future.
So, looking at it critically, what do you see in the brighter future? Because today now, we have, the populace feel that the leadership at both political level, spiritual level, and even at the literary level have disappointed the country. That we have hard men killing, we have poor education, we have low development in terms of power and energy. What bright future is Your Eminence seeing, sir?
Very good. If you recollect, Nigeria had its best during the time of regional governments. And in those days, in the 60s, the regions were in competition with one another. Healthy competition. Every region was striving to outperform the other region for the benefit of the masses, unlike what we have today. The politicians we have today care about their pockets, their immediate family, less about the populace. So, and then if you recollect, everything Western region was doing those days, Western region,
yes,
not even Nigeria, federal government of Nigeria, Western region, most of the things they did were first in Africa.
First in Africa?
In Africa. I can give you some.
Yes, sir.
Nigeria is the first country in the whole of Africa that had television.
Television station.
Before South Africa, that is so good today that even some Nigerians are traveling to South Africa. Nigeria had television, let me put it correctly, Western region had television before South Africa. Before some European countries. If you search your internet,
yes, sir,
you will see that Nigeria had television before a lot of Eastern European countries, which we refer today as second world, and Nigeria still remains third world. The first university, apart from Timbuktu in Mali, was the premier university in Ibadan, in the whole of Africa. Many other things like that. So,
even the Cocoa House. Yes,
and that is why I can see a bright future, because whether the government likes it or not, you will see that there will be restructuring. Restructuring will come, whether the government of the day likes it or not. Now the parliament is discussing about state policing and community policing. It will come. Because if we have state policing, all these S-men killing will be eliminated almost immediately. But the federal might is losing its might, is losing its power, more or less, to encourage. It may not be their intention, but the way they are handling the matter is encouraging Boko Haram, is encouraging the herdsmen, terrorists,
yes,
to kill people in the Middle Belt. So, if we have restructuring, which will come, because, we don't see only with the eyes,
yes,
we see also in the spirit.
Yes, sir.
Restructuring will come. We will have zonal or regional governments in the nearest future. It's not something coming in 10 years. It's going to be in the nearest future. And once that comes, you will see Nigeria picking up again, becoming the true giant of Africa. We are now just giant on paper.
Giant of paper.
On paper only. Many countries in Africa are far better than Nigeria. I just came back day before yesterday from a conference, All African Conference of Churches from Kigali. We had a General Assembly there. You should come and see that country. The country, population-wise, is less than Lagos State.
That's Rwanda.
Rwanda is less than Ogun State. It's not even Lagos State. Lagos State is too much. Over 20 million. It's less than Ogun State. Ogun State is about 8 or 12 million. The country is so clean. They have national airline. Everything in that small country is working well. All the time we were there, 24 hours electricity. In Rwanda, this is a country that fought civil war, because we went to the a museum where genocide
museum.
Yeah, genocide museum.
Yep.
Where over 1 million people were killed, and about 3 million were internally displaced, and some of them even externally. They went to Uganda, Kenya, and all the rest of them. I mean, if a country that has just gone through that just 10, 15 years ago can be far better than Nigeria, then we have a problem of leadership in this country. Our problem is leadership and even followership too.
Okay, sir.
Because people get the type of government they deserve. We've been brainwashed. We love to people that bring bags of rice and mortgage our future for 4 years. These are the people Nigerians will vote for.
Yes, sir.
Instead of voting for people that will do something for their even unborn children, give them good education.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Look, even our politicians, when they are sick,
yes,
they run to England, Germany, and America.
Yes, sir.
Because we don't have good health facilities in the country. In this Europe, in other countries, when their leaders are sick, they go to the same hospital which every normal person will go to.
Sir.
Yes. It's the same hospital they go to.
I even let they share the same train station.
Even I saw the former Prime Minister of Cameroon, of UK,
David
he
Cameron.
was, yes, he retired on his own free will. He was in the troop, in the bus. You know, can such a thing happen in Nigeria?
No, the bodyguard will push you. They will beat you, sir. You can't
It
even
will be even too much. So we still have a long way to go. What we need
Yes, sir.
in Nigeria, and I'm begging all Nigerians, number one, please go and get your PVC to be able to exercise your citizen right. You have the right to vote, and you have to put the people with integrity in power. But particularly as for the president of this Nigeria in 2019, please vote for an intellectual, an exposed person who has lived abroad. He must have lived in Europe or America for at least 10 years. Because I know when we were there for 5 years, we will defend anything Nigerian. Bad or, we are proud of our country. Right or bad. Nigeria is the best in the world. We are just deceiving ourselves. So we need somebody that has gone through Europe. Europe has gone through them. Or has gone through America, and America has gone through them. They have become refined. And then, please, we need a young person. You saw the difference when Macron came to Nigeria and came to Lagos.
We saw the difference, sir.
You saw the difference.
But Femi Kuti drag him on the stage, and there was a connectivity, sir.
Yes.
There was something.
We need a young person. Look, I can tell you, there is no presidential candidate in the last 10 years in Nigeria that has done what Chowore has done.
I agree with you, sir. Totally.
He has traveled all over the country.
In town hall meetings,
If any of them who are parading themselves as presidential candidate try it, he will collapse. I'm telling the gospel truth, on age basis, he will die. It will be too much for him. But we need somebody, an intellectual, exposed, and young and vibrant candidate. I'm not soliciting for anybody.
Yes, sir.
I just use Chowore as an example.
Yes, sir.
I don't know him. I've never met him. But we need somebody like that.
Who is energetic.
Yes,
and
energetic.
He wants.
And he has brain.
Intellect.
He has brain. He knows what is going on. And he knows how they do it.
Abroad.
It's not just going abroad, seeing good roads and that, but you don't know how they do it. Somebody who has lived there, who knows how they do it, and can now replicate it in our own country. That's what we need for Nigeria. Let it be anybody, but let it be somebody vibrant, exposed, and intellectual.
But sir, looking at it, your own age, when
and people with integrity is very, very important.
Integrity, sir. Looking at your own age when you were growing, it was the great age of Nigeria. When your father had you, and you, at what time do you think we ran into this crisis of leadership? What time really? Because a lot of people.
No, it's very simple.
Yes,
it's the moment we had the military, Nigeria began to sink. The moment, I think it was around 1966 or whatever.
That's the
when the military came on board, that was the end of Nigeria.
Military incursion to politics.
Yes, it was the end of Nigeria. That's when Nigeria, then they brought this unitary government. People deceiving people. So that was the end of Nigeria, and we have never gotten out of it till today. Somebody was asking me, even if we have somebody in government,
yes, sir,
and it seems as if unemployment is reducing, the economy is growing,
yes, sir,
but at the same time, Christians and people in the middle belt are being wiped off. Do we want to exchange genocide for economic development?
I don't know, sir.
No, that is not the answer. That is not the answer. That's not, it's not even comparable.
Can you imagine exchanging genocide for economic advancement and development? I don't think that is even.
No.
It's not.
So that is why the present day government should be given a red card, not even a yellow card, a red card. Let's bring in vibrant new people that have vision. Vision. It's not that we don't have this thing on ground. Only because when it comes to Nigeria, things become difficult. And governance is not that difficult if you are sincere.
Yes, sir. If you are sincere.
If you are sincere, governance is not difficult. I've been in it. I was the president of Foreigners Parliament in Germany.
Can you imagine?
And I was there for 8 years.
Foreigners Parliament. In Germany.
And in that parliament, I'm the single African. All other members are Europeans. Because in Germany, whether you are British, Belgium, French, all of you are foreigners as far as German constitution is concerned. So we are all foreigners. And I was the only elected African in the parliament, and the Oyibo people, white people, elected me as their president. It cannot happen in this country for now.
I know, sir.
I hope it will happen in the future. Because we are too tribalistic. Oh, it's not from my tribe, it's not from my religion, it's not from this, it's not, it's short, it's tall, it's this, it's fat, it's thin, you know. Mundane issues is what we are considering. Mundane issues, not real issues. The people just look at who can represent us best against the government.
Yes.
And they said, it's Dr. Rufus. It's Dr. Rufus we want. And, because there was a local government.
Yes, sir.
I'm talking of the state basis.
Yes, sir.
And I've been representing the foreigners in the local government.
Yeah, the lowest rung.
At the lowest something. It was in the newspaper. There was a time we were to discuss. I was also a member of the, I will call it Finance and General Committee of the Parliament.
Okay, sir.
When it was time to discuss some critical issues, we call it confidential issues.
Okay, sir.
They will send all journalists out. And all those who just came to watch the Parliament in session, everybody, observers, everybody out. So now, they picked on me that you are only representing the Foreigners Parliament here. You are not a member of the German Parliament, which is correct. I was just representing foreigners in that German Parliament.
That's a sensitive statement.
Yes. So, I told them that we are not going to discuss anything today if you ask me to go out. The chairman said, we have to consult the state government, the governor, whether Dr. Shitelu is right or wrong. Parliament closed that day. No further discussion.
Just for your objection.
Yeah, for my objection, and it was in the newspapers. So
that means they even respect your
sure,
common thinking. It's very important.
They
Common
respect
thinking.
law,
Okay.
because they respect law. And they were not sure of the position of the law. They read paragraph 24, but they were not sure of the interpretation. They said, let us consult the Minister of Defense and the Minister of Justice in the state government. So they did. By the time the reply came, they said, I have the right to be there in every discussion, and including confidential. So it was again in the newspapers, and all my colleagues, all the white, British, Americans, white Americans, all of them in our state, they said, that is the person we want now for the presidency of the state parliament of foreigners.
Yes, sir.
That's how actually God.
That's how you emerged, sir.
Yes. But can such a thing happen here? When we see the best candidate, even among us,
yes,
we will still use politics, mundane issues to establish who that person should be. So, to give you an example, see what is going on in Lagos State.
Yes, sir.
In Lagos State, there was a plan about 15 years ago.
Yes, sir.
By Tinubu. I'm privileged to know part of it because I know some of these engineers that came from London.
Okay, sir.
Tinubu recruited them to make plan for Lagos. Transportation, all these things you are seeing they are building now. The plan existed long ago.
That was 16 years ago.
16 years ago. So, but the fortunate thing we had in Lagos was that we were getting good governors who were not necessarily politicians. And then there was continuity. I want to tell you blank, if another party has come to power in Lagos State, all those plans will have been dabaru. They will have just rejected it because they want to do something of their own. That's the nature of a black man.
Yes.
No continuity.
Yes.
Lagos is thriving today because of continuity. And then because of the good leadership that they put in place. We don't say, it must be my brother, it must be my in-law, it must be my sister, as we read going on in other states of Nigeria. So it's not that we cannot do it. We can do it in Nigeria. We don't need to invent the wheel. We don't need to invent the wheel.
Sir, and anytime you look at it now, you hear deaths. I mean, yesterday now they said the case of people in Adamawa.
Every day.
Yes, every day. Now, as a man of God, as a man, as a leader who sees the poor at the lowest rung, how does it feel to you? I mean, you have traveled wide the world preaching the gospel, and you lead one of the biggest churches in Africa. Sir, how do you feel when you hear that people are just slaughtered? I mean, people are being shot on the road. I mean, petrol tankers are burning. All things that supposed not to ever take place. How do you feel, sir?
I feel so bad. Even on the social media, I cannot even watch some of the videos. After you have killed somebody, you still take dagger, you know, hitting that person. I saw one yesterday. I switched off my phone. The person is already lying down dead. The guy went there again and cut the leg of a dead man. What do you want to use that for? I couldn't watch it. This is too much. But where we have good leadership and determination, all these things can be eradicated. I was watching last week in channels.
Okay, sir.
This guy is very popular. He's a retired soldier, and he's an expert in communication too.
Okay, sir.
Even he revealed in the studio, to the surprise of many, that do you know that, he said, and I'm quoting him verbatim now, he said, do you know that I'm a Fulani? Because it doesn't look Fulani, it's a little bit dark.
Okay.
He said, I'm a Fulani. And he said, he has been using all his knowledge, all what they have been taught in school, to try to rationalize why these things are going on. Because he said, according to him, the problem of Nigeria today can easily be solved by Fulani, because the problem is caused by Fulani, and it can easily, because you are one of them.
Yes, sir.
If somebody who is the head of state, who is not a Fulani, you know,
yeah, they will say it's a bias.
Yeah, it's bias. It will not fly.
Yes.
It will not fly. But as a Fulani, if you come out against your people, what you are doing is bad, stop it, or I deal with you. He said, many Fulani will listen to him, and Nigerians will be convinced. He said till today, in studio, it's recorded. He said till today, he cannot understand. He said he was thinking, what could be the cause? It's either the president himself, according to this Fulani man, lettered Fulani man, is behind it, or he supports it. He may not be the one sending them, according to him. I'm only quoting him now.
Yes, sir.
And he said recorded something.
On channels, television.
On channels, tape is there. He said it's either he supports it, being a Muslim, to wipe out the Christians, or he is even the one sending them, because he cannot see what the soldiers and police are doing. After they have come, killed people, you send police there, and then you tell the local community, those who are remaining who have not been killed,
yes, sir,
please keep your peace, don't retaliate. While you are doing that, they go to another place, kill them. Then after they have left, you send police there again, keep your peace, please don't retaliate.
I remember, sir, during General Obasanjo's era, I mean President Obasanjo, GCFR, when the OPC crisis started, General Obasanjo gave the IG, Tafawa Balewa, an order to shoot at sight.
Yes.
And I remember the arrests were made of Dr. Frederick Fashion, arrests were made of Chief Gani Adams, and some other militants in the Niger Delta, Chief Asari Dokubo, were arrested, and Uwazurike was arrested in the east. But right now, we are not even recording any arrests. Is that why the security expert on channels, the communication expert who is a Fulani, saying all this?
Even if we look back to just last year,
yes, sir,
some Fulanis, killers,
yes, sir,
killer headmen that were arrested, they have not been prosecuted. The Fulani headsmen that went to a particular place, killed some Christians, and some few young boys went and retaliated. They were arrested, and they have been sentenced to death already. So you start asking yourself, what type of country are we living in? A country of double standards? The killers are walking free, and those who are demonstrating are being tortured, being persecuted. We know, it's just quite last year.
Yes.
Last year before, when this pro-Biafra
agitators,
IPOB, yes, well, they were demonstrating
somewhere in the east.
It is just demonstrating.
Yes, sir.
Government went there and dealt with them seriously.
With military forces.
They didn't kill anybody. They went with military and dealt with them. I saw some video. Those boys were drinking mud water.
Yeah, and rolling in the mud.
Yes, rolling in the mud. The facts are there for everybody to see. Now, your killer brothers, Fulani killer herdsmen, are killing people, slaughtering people like animals. And nothing is being done by this federal government.
But the president said they were from Libya, and at another time you say they are from maybe Mali or something like that.
And all the rest of them.
That they are infiltrating our borders and that they are not nearly full.
What has he done about it?
Those are kind of questions that we.
At least they were not flying. They are coming through the borders.
Yes, sir.
And they are not even only coming through the borders, they are coming with their cows. So it's not something needed. I mean, if somebody is coming with only 50 cows or 100 cows, they must be seen. And something should be done about it.
Give a word of advice to politicians, people who are supposed to correct norms, who are supposed to lead by example, who are supposed to give good education. You go to most of the schools now, they are dilapidated. The children cannot even eat well. People, even to cook soup now, you need to have 10,000 to be able to cook good soup. And that's why somebody was doing Dibogo Sebe in Ondo State, and they are now trying to do another Dibogo Sebe in Ekiti State. So now there's a lot of confusion everywhere. People are sharing groundnut oil, sharing curry, sharing 2 kind of rice, sharing indomie, sharing akara with oil and money on a land that is so was coming from Abuja yesterday by road, and we saw a lot of mountain, a lot of arable lands, nobody to farm it, nobody to do anything. What do you want to tell Nigeria? Sir, I want you to tell them the truth, that they should believe that there is karma, that if they are doing this for the children, and they are doing it for the children of the poor, and they don't think about tomorrow, that but surely one day is going to come. As an anointed man of God, your eminence, Dr. Oshitelu, what are you going to say to the politician? Because if I say you should give word to Nigerians are already in disarray, they are not inconsolable. But I think the message should be to the politicians, sir. How should they do it? And is there truly karma? Is there really a retribution?
There is karma. There is retribution.
Yes, sir.
There is reward. To the politicians, I want to appeal to all of you. Please, for God's sake, do what is right. You know, all of you know what is right. Now, abolish your self-centeredness. Ask God for forgiveness, and God will forgive you. God is a forgiving Father. He will forgive you. And for once, do what is right. Nigeria needs restructuring, needs regional government. We have tasted it before. We can take the good part of it, and let there be healthy competitions among the regions. And before you know it, Nigeria will become a state that everybody is running to. It will be a true giant of Africa, not giant on paper. But you need to sacrifice. You must bury your self-centeredness. You must bury it. And even if it is possible, let us have just one legislation that even will be part-time. Let good people who are established, who already have money, who are in business, let them elect themselves, just like I did in Germany. This foreigners' parliament, we all have our work, we are not paid. The only payment we get is transportation when we come for meetings. Not even feeding. It's not no allowance. It's not sitting allowance. They will calculate, it's the government that is paying us. They know your address, where you live. They calculate how many kilometers from your house to the place of meeting, and they will give you the money. They will send it to your account, provided you even attend the meeting. They will wait until the register of those who attended the meeting
is out.
The secretary of the parliament is a civil servant. It's a government official. He's working in the government's office. So you cannot even deceive anybody, and you cannot bribe him or her. So let us, for once, we want people who want to sacrifice for Nigeria. Not for what Nigeria can do for you, but what you can do for Nigeria, for this country to move forward. And it's only parliamentary. We have tried it too. We have tried presidential. We have tried parliamentary before. Everybody knows now, at least those who are above, let me say, 50, they know that parliamentary system is much better than the presidential. This presidential system is too costly. It's too costly for Nigeria. Nigeria cannot afford it. We are not a developed country yet. We still have a lot of things in our hands to develop. Look at our roads. They are killer roads. They are killing people every day. Look at our airport. Look at all the establishments of government.
Even the airplanes are old. The airplanes are old, sir.
Yes, they are all in shambles. So please, we need now a new generation of politicians who are ready to sacrifice for Nigeria. part-time politicians. That's what we need. If you don't do it now and let God reward you, evolution will come and you will be swept aside. But if you do it now, you will go into history books that it was your generation and you are part of those who renewed Nigeria and brought it again into limelight and economic prosperity. Please, this is my appeal to you all of you who are politicians, political leaders of today. And once again, before we end, voters, please go and get your PVC. Go and get your voter's card. Don't sit down at home doing nothing and allow some other people to elect self-centered people for you. Because you will not have any excuse. So be part of the change that you want this country to be. Let us go and elect people with credibility, with intellect, with exposure, with dynamism. These are the people that can really, people like the government we have in France. These are the people that can take Nigeria forward. We have enough candidates outside there. It's not about money. They don't have money. We don't want to vote for people with bags of money to deceive us and then mortgage our future. No. Remember, whatever you do today will become history tomorrow. And this applies to every one of us, both followers and leadership, both civilians and politicians. Please, I beg you in the name of God, exercise your civic right. And God will bless this nation in Jesus' name.